what's up? This is Patrick. Welcome to episode 48 of the Double ETF podcast, Everything Except the Football. I hope you guys are doing great. So today, same deal as always. We have Mike, we have Woody, we have Nick, and we talk movies, books, recommendations of all kinds. And we also start a show with 2 questions. So if you want to drop us a line, you can do so at eETFpod on Twitter or eETFpodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to leave us a positive review. It would help the show greatly. And enjoy. Thanks. All right, welcome to episode 48, what we watched, and a couple questions to start the show with. But first, let's introduce our fine people here tonight. First, we have back on the show again, Woody Meacham. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm great, Patrick. Thank you for having me again.
Always a pleasure. We also have Nick Man back. Welcome back.
Hey, Patrick.
Glad to have you here.
Thanks.
We also have back on the show, Mike Drew. How are you, sir?
Thank you. I can't say back by popular demand, but I appreciate being here.
No. That's okay. Don't sell yourself short. Unfortunately, John Motford is dead again. He couldn't be with us tonight, but he will probably be revived on another episode for sure. Okay, so let's start the show with 2 questions. I will give you a quick setup for this. Shout out to Tom Neuerberg, by the way. He told me that in the last episode, I said something that made him laugh. I said something to the effect of, I'm always up for some ultra violence. And that line made him laugh. So I'm happy to help. So that brought a question to my mind because that word ultra violence is from the book Clockwork Orange. And that brought to mind one question, one of 2. So question 1, and guys, I will yield the floor to you afterwards. Question 1 was, what are 2 books that blew your mind? They don't have to be your favorite books, or they don't have to be, best ever books. It could be whatever kind of books, but 2 books that simply blew your mind for any reason whatsoever. It could be, the world building, could be the way one character acted, could be plot twists, could be the moment in your life that you read that book, it changed something in you, could be whatever. So 2 books that did just that. We can start with Woody. What do you have for us?
All right. So the first book that came to mind when I thought about this was Joseph Heller's Catch-22.
Mm-hmm.
So if you should be familiar with it, I hope most people have read it. But if not, it's a book that takes place in World War II. It centers around a guy named Captain Yossarian, and it's all about, because everybody knows the term Catch-22, but not many people know what it's about. But it's the term of the only way you can get out of the army is if you're insane. But if you know you're insane, then they will not let you out because you can't self-diagnose as insane. So that's the Catch-22, is you can never get out of it. And I read that when I first moved to Chicago in 1990, back when I would ride the train and actually read on the train, which if you guys know me now, because I don't ever read, was kind of a big deal in my life. But it was one of those real striking books about just how trying to deal with just constant overwhelming problems and then realizing that life is kind of like that in general was just one of those things that really, it always stuck with me. And then there's one, I call it scene because I've seen it done in the movie and the TV show now, that I actually use to this day when I'm trying to talk somebody through solving a problem. There's a scene where Yossarian is in a bomber. He's in one of these World War II bombers, B-52s, and one of the gunners in the middle of the fuselage gets hit with a bullet. And so the guy's leg is bleeding. And so Yossarian is constantly, he's working on the leg, trying to get the bleeding to stop. The guy's not doing any better. And then it just goes on for quite a bit where he's doing everything he can to try to solve get this guy stable. And then he sees a little bit of blood trickling up near his neck. So he unzips the guy's flight suit and all of his guts pour out.
Mm.
And so I use that a lot as an analogy when I'm talking with people about problem solving is, are you solving the right problem? Are you looking through issues to try to figure out am I actually working on the right thing or am I working on the wrong thing? And I just say, are you trying to fix the wound, or are your guts all going to spill out? And so it's something I've used in business for quite a while. So that'll be my first one. I don't want to go in too deep because we don't want a 5-hour podcast today.
If I may ask first, what kind of place were you in mentally when you read that book?
So that was the whole thing. So I was a kid from a very small town. So I was coming into the big city. And so that was the first time and I came here by myself for a $6.50 hour job. And I lived in the northern part of Chicago. I was taking the train all the way down to the Loop. So it was about a 45-minute train ride every morning. And so it was just the process of me learning the city. And I was totally a country mouse in the big city. And so it was just one of those things where when you read about kind of all the problems he was going through, Yossarian is dealing with, and with all of the wacky characters, the perspective was just something that clicked with what I was doing at the time.
Okay. I read that book and maybe I was too young to get it, but I remember not liking it. But it sounds so lame as an excuse, but maybe my English wasn't good enough back then to grasp everything. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I don't. There's two versions. So they made a movie in 1970 with Alan Arkin,
yes,
playing the main role, is a good one. And then they had a mini series 4 or 5 years ago, I think, on Amazon or AMC or something that was quite good. And so it was a way of getting into that.
All right. Okay, so you can go ahead with your second book.
Oh, okay. So then the second one is the nerd classic Ready Player One.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that was one because I came to it late. I didn't read it until probably 2017, 2018, when I heard about the movie that they were putting together was coming around. And for those of you, it was done by Ernest Cline, was the writer who also did Fanboys. He helped write the movie Fanboys with Adam F. Goldberg, who does the Goldbergs and things like that. That was one that hit me because Ernest is just a few years younger than I am. And he hit all of the nerd points that was me as a kid. And again, I grew up in a small town. I was the D&D guy, the drama nerd. I watched everything on TV that, Star Trek, the original series, any sci-fi thing on the afternoon, any kung fu movie, Monty Python, all of that stuff. This book hit every note. There wasn't a single reference I did not get. The video games that they all played, all the Atari 2600 games, those were the games I grew up on. Those were the first ones that I had. So it was just one of those nerd empowerment books that really got me. The movie, incredibly disappointing.
Yeah.
But because the book was so good, and obviously a book can go into much more detail with that, but that was one where I grasped that a lot earlier. I was in my late 40s, early 50s when I read that. So almost this opposite of Catch-22 was one where it's kind of like, wow, all of that crap I went through growing up and having my nerd card not really being a thing, just really felt cool. It felt cool to be heard and to go, God, I knew everything that was going on in that.
All right. Did you read the sequel?
No, because I heard it was bad.
Yeah, same.
I heard Armada and Ready Player 2 are just bad, and why would I waste my time on a bad thing? So,
yeah, well said. And what you mentioned about the nerd empowerment, that's a great term, and that catches the idea well, I think.
Well, and that's why I look at my son now, who's 22, who's into all the same stuff as me, and I'm like, bro, you have it so easy. I'm like, you could literally go onto any dating app and put in, I'm into anime, or I'm into role-playing games, or I'm into this, and they'll line up for you. I go, this is crazy.
And I believe it's pronounced bruh.
Bruh.
I mean, it's, I read something about that recently. In a way, it's easier for them, but it's also much more difficult because this is a completely different topic. But for example, bullying, when we were kids, when school was over, you could go back home and you were safe in your home. It's not true for kids anymore. They can be bullied 24/7.
Right.
And that part is ultra shitty. But in other ways, it's easier though.
Yep. I will say the opposite of that though. I would say 90% of my son's friends are online. Like he's never physically met them, or they get together once a year at like a Comic-Con that's around here.
Okay.
And I kind of look at them like, wow, that's really weird that you don't know these guys. But then I look at the three of you,
That's what I was just thinking.
who I've known for damn near 3 years and have never met either of you. We've never been in the same vicinity as each other. But like Mike, you met up with Kyle, you know, and Nick has met up with Pat and stuff like that. So it's like, I'm like, oh, wow. So I'm actually kind of more in the norm now than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These people are real too.
Yeah. I think you guys are.
Wait, I'm real? No.
No, Nick, you're unreal, bro.
Bruh.
Sorry, bro.
But with Chat GPT and a good Photoshop, who knows what's real now?
Especially us, because we don't have hair. It's a lot easier.
I was going to say, if we're going to go through all this, I want a nice mane like this.
Yes. All right. Awesome. So thank you, Woody. We will come back for you on question 2. So next we have Mike. What do you have for books?
Okay, so I'm going to go with A Prayer for Owen Meany by John Irving.
Yes.
Great book if you've never read it. And it's funny because actually the high school that I was in, after I left, they started reading this. And if you've never read it, I don't even know where to start. There is a movie very loosely based on it. Is it Simon Birch? I wouldn't recommend it. It has some of the points of it, but the book is, classic American literature, in my opinion. It's one of the few books that you can laugh. The next chapter, you're crying. The next chapter, you're like stunned and shocked. It runs every emotional spectrum that is around. It's just amazing. John Irving, I think, has the, you look at that and you look at, I'm trying to think of the Cider House Rules and the one that I'm trying to think, the Robin Williams.
The World According to Garp?
Yeah, The World According to Garp, which is another fantastic book. This guy paints pictures with words that I just think,
He had an insane run, like for 10 years. He was like top of the mountain, definitely.
But A Prayer for Owen Meany is just classic storytelling. It's funny because I know one of the questions you're going to ask us later is like a fan edit of what we'd like to see of a movie. I don't hope I'm not spoiling anything, but
you just did, but that's
I just did. Sorry. Spoiler alert, folks.
No problem.
But this was, if you made this actually into a film, like it would be a 12-part, hour-long Netflix series. And I don't know why nobody ever actually has, because it's amazing. But that being said, I don't know how you could do it in one film. Like I said, Simon Birch was very loosely. It's way too short. It misses anybody who goes in thinking it's the film. The adaptation of the book is wrong. But it's just amazing the intertwining of, going back decades, because the book is kind of set in the late 80s, which is when it was written. But the majority of the stories that's being told is in the 50s and 60s by the main character, John. And it's fantastic. I don't know what else to say. To read it if you haven't.
Yeah, I have a long time ago. I remember enjoying it, but I don't remember being blown away by it. So I'm intrigued now, actually.
To be honest with you, I mean, I feel like at times it's a little long, but you read books, you watch movies, sometimes TV shows, the series, and you go, well, that wasn't needed and this wasn't needed. And there are times almost where you feel like that in this book, where you're like, oh my, because it's so daunting. I mean, it's like, say 600, whatever, edition you have, say it's 600 pages. The print is this tiny. And you're like, oh my gosh, I've still got however much to go. But everything connects at some point, right? And it all, I don't know. It is classic English literature that I think should be taught all around. And part of it's set in Toronto. So there you go.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that. Okay.
Yeah, because he teaches at a school in Toronto in the 80s section.
Okay.
Not that matters, but.
Published in 1989. Yeah, it must have been brand new when I read it. And probably I was too young to get it,
Yeah.
But good shout. What's your other book?
And my second book's actually for people who don't know, I'm a primary school or an elementary school librarian. And so I buy a lot of children's books, that run from kind of, 3 and 4 year olds, these storybooks up to, and there's some unbelievable ones in there. Like I could go on for days about those, up to, YA, which is, your 13, 14s. That's kind of the age I'm trying to find titles for. But one that I read in the last couple of years that I still think about, and I've read it several times actually, is a book called, and it was the first kind of graphic novel that ever really got me, because I liked comic books as a kid, but I wasn't a huge comic book person. It's called The Bad Guys by Aaron Blabely. There was a movie last year, which I think on this very podcast I said was awful. So, but that first book is, if you're one of those who just like, it's funny story. The characters are brilliant. The quick synopsis of it is that all the animals that get a bad reputation in life, wolves, piranhas, snakes, sharks, they all decide, with the wolf being kind of the head of the pack, that, pardon the pun, that they all want to become good. They don't want to be known as bad guys anymore. They want to be good guys. Some more so than others, and some kind of go reluctantly. But it's this brilliant story of redemption and friendship, and it's so amazing. And Aaron Blabely is an Australian writer who was an actor, I guess, at one point. So his storytelling is just on point. Now, I will say this. The first 2-3 books are fantastic. The first book is the best. It's amazing. Sets it all up. After about book 5, I don't think any of the story makes any sense. I'm sure if you can, enjoy some enhancements, maybe you'll see something that I don't, but it's it goes right off the rails.
Well put.
Yeah, but the first book especially, and I'd say the first 3, 4 are amazing, but the first one in particular, like it's so well done. I read it probably every year that it's been, I think it's been out 4 or 5 years now, and I read it every year to, 6, 7, 8 year olds, and they love it. And they just, because it's funny and it moves fast, but it's got all these stories. And when you start asking them questions about, what do you think the message is here? Or what lesson are you trying to, is the author trying to teach you? They get it, which is, to me, the sign of a good book. It makes a connection, right? Even students who are reluctant at reading, like Woody said, and myself, if I didn't work in a library, I probably wouldn't read as much as I do. And but this book was fantastic. And it really kind of gave me an appreciation for graphic novels, because I'll be honest, I kind of snobbishly dismissed them for a long time. And there are some really good ones now, but and not to say that this is, highbrow in any stretch. It's not, but it's fantastic. I can't recommend it enough.
How many books are there total?
I think there's 15 as of now. I think it's supposed to end at 16 or something. But like I said, if you can follow it past book 5, all the power to you, because it's just goes, all these new characters get introduced, and the universe becomes so expansive. Like I'm like, I don't know what's happening right now.
Okay. All right. Good recommendations. Thanks. Nick, do you have something in mind?
Yeah. So I was thinking about this question, and I was thinking about my background in film, because that's what my first field was. And I kept thinking, like, what inspired me to want to study film? And it was always going back to Roger Ebert. And I don't know if you guys remember, there was a book called The Great Movies that he published in 2002. And it's a collection of essays that Ebert wrote over the years. And he picked 100 movies that he considered great and ones that he enjoyed the most. And something that always struck me about Roger Ebert was that his writing was always very simple, but it was always very effective. And finding out in retrospect that a lot of the reviews he wrote in like a half hour, and they were grammatically correct and they were just a coherent thought, actually makes it all the more special, because he was always a revered figure, but he was also kind of seemed as figure who sold out to in many ways because of the TV show, at the movies. But I think there's somewhat of an art to what he did. And he could have like this well argued or well written essay about a film, write it in like a half hour to 40 minutes and have it published in like the Chicago Sun-Times. And what I really liked about this book was I read it in high school when I was a freshman. And I just kind of picked random essays because there's not really a coherent order that you have to read them in. They're listed alphabetically. But I kind of slowly went through the list over the years and read the reviews, then watched the movies, and then reread it. And I got something new out of it every time. And I know for a lot of people, he was an inspiration, especially for film criticism. And I always use that book almost like a Bible in many ways. And then he published 2 other books after that, like The Great Movies 2 and The Great Movies 3. And I used to like write notes and like highlight sections. And it's just a really terrific book. I don't know if anyone here has read it, but I really enjoy that one. That's one of the most influential on me as a film watcher and as a writer and as a thinker of like movies or art. I think it's really very special to me.
I always like I always like him and Siskel, but because I always found that they complemented each other well in the sense that if one was trying to be a little, I hate to use the word snobbish again, but about film, the other one would come up with, would say more of a common sense, if that's the right term, point, like just something that everybody could understand. But I love them both. And I loved Ebert in the sense that it just seemed like him and I would, be on the same page sometimes. Like if he liked a film, I would say more times than not, I would too.
He's a good barometer, especially for taste for a mainstream audience.
Mm-hmm.
To me, what's really wonderful about Roger Ebert, and I think his legacy, is that he is, I think, one of the people that's responsible for art house cinema and international cinema being more embraced by
mm-hmm.
An English-speaking audience, even beyond America, like in Canada or elsewhere. And I think that a lot of filmmakers, especially like more post-war and more contemporary filmmakers, owe a lot to Roger Ebert because, of course, he championed like Martin Scorsese and like Robert Altman, but he also would talk about like Ikaru and La Dolce Vita and movies like that should be in the conversation for the best movies ever or somewhat in the zeitgeist of movie criticism for a mainstream audience. But I also like that he sort of liked genre movies, and it didn't matter if it was an indie movie or a blockbuster or an art house movie from India. He would kind of look at it the same way, and he could find something usually with these movies that he liked. Although he did have a book called Your Movie Sucks, which is a great read as well, because it's basically the same format as this. He just takes 100 essays on movies he hates. And I think Rob Schneider wrote a comment because I think 1 or 2 of his movies was in there, and Roger was like, we should have made a better movie then. And I just think that that's fantastic. But he's very missed. I mean, it's been like 10 years since his passing. And I feel like for so many people, he's like so ubiquitous with film criticism that it's almost like there's a void now that like for someone to say, oh, what did Roger Ebert think? So, yeah.
Okay, so what's your other book then, Nick?
So I'm more of a nonfiction reader. I tried to think of not only a movie book, but I tried to think of a music book as well. And there's a really wonderful book written in the mid-70s that's called Mystery Train. And that's written by Grail Marcus, who's a very famous rock critic. And what's really fascinating about that book is that, like the great movies, it's written in fragmented essays, and it focuses on 6 figures in rock and roll. It focuses on Elvis Presley, Sly Stone, the band, Robert Johnson, Randy Newman, and Harmonica Frank, who is like really like not really as well known as the ones I mentioned. But he takes like this like social history approach to telling these stories, is trying to like make an argument of how popular music in the 20th century kind of went through waves and it got to what we now know as rock and roll. And it takes these ideas that would ultimately immortalize these figures, especially Elvis, because Elvis died in 77 and this was written in 75. And it's a really wonderful book that always gets new editions like every 7 or 8 years. I think the last one is like the 7th edition, which is a lot for a book that's not even half a century old. And I think it's a standard for anyone who's interested in music criticism or just analysis. And I think it's one of the best written books I've ever read. And it goes by so fast, and it makes you want to learn more and you want more from him. And I think what's so special about this book is that this is one of the first books, if not the first one, that took rock and roll very seriously, like telling these stories almost like it's written about like Hemingway or Orwell or, like these like high art forms, quote unquote. And, rock and roll and popular music's usually like a lowly art form, like how that was the thing about movies for many years and still is that film is like a low art. And then there's high arts. And I think that's a book that has shaped my thinking about music. And that's helped me with my podcast, for example, in my writing. And yeah, Marcus is a curmudgeon in many ways. All of those critics are and historians, but I always get something from him. And I think that's one of the best books I've ever read. Yeah, ever read, fiction or nonfiction. It's just a wonderful book.
Does he update it? You said there's all these editions that come out. So is it updated every edition? And if so, what does he update it with?
So really, the main text is the same pretty much. He'll add like footnotes and he'll add like anecdotes at the end of the text or at the bottom. But it's like the additions, like the introductions are a little bit longer each time. And he'll put like, more of a historical context and more, just like the receptions of the book and different things. But the actual text of the book hasn't changed since 75.
Wow.
But it still sells really well. It's among the most best-selling books on music criticism ever. It's, I think Bruce Springsteen called it the best book about music he's ever read.
All right. Good stuff. Thanks. So we can move to the second question, I suppose. So question 2, you guys are familiar with fan edits, right? Movie edits by amateurs outside of the official production. What is the fan edit that you would like to see? It doesn't have to be a fan edit that exists. It could be just like the movie that you would like to be created out of an existing movie. Memento in chronological order, for example. So, all right. So let's go with this one. Woody, what do you think?
So I had a couple I was thinking of, but first of all, before I get in, my son wants to make a living making fan edits, which I'm like,
okay,
bro, I don't quite know how you do that, but anyway. So I went down a bit of a rabbit hole with those.
It could be dicey on the legal sense.
Well, exactly. So I'm like, I said, if anything, then you want to be a trailer editor. But so this one I had a little fun with. And so the film edit or the fan edit I want to see is Big Trouble in Little China from Lopan's perspective. It's a movie about a guy who is really old, who just wants to get young again. And he just needs to find a green-eyed chick, and we edit out the he has to kill her part. And then there's this crazy dude who drives a semi who just keeps getting in his way and brings a little friend with him who all of a sudden becomes some weird superhero. And it's like a Batman and Robin attack this guy. So I just think, maybe he got the wrong end of the deal. And let's, like the original version, one of my favorite movies, but just a different perspective from poor Lopan.
Okay. Yeah, that's that's good. Never saw it that way.
Well, see, that's why we got to think a little different perspective on stuff.
Cool. Mike, what do you think?
Okay, well, the obvious answer is The Phantom Menace, which I know there is one, and I've never watched it.
There are a couple.
I'm sure there are, yeah.
But yeah.
But the one I'm going to go with would like to hope a little bit different, and I don't know how this could be done. But 2 films that I absolutely love are Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch. And I don't know if it's possible because I know some of the actors are in both, but I have always felt like they were brother and sister movies, and I would love to see how they could be like intertwined. I'm not sure if it's possible. Again, I know, for example, Jason Statham or Vinnie Jones is in both, but for somehow if like they could make it, or even one becomes more of a sequel, like where Snatch becomes more of a sequel to Lock, Stock, or maybe the other way around. I don't know. I don't have that talent. I don't have that thing in my brain that goes, hey, you know what we could do? I don't have that. But I know that there are people who do. And if somebody could do that, that would be awesome.
Well, so you've got the same actors, which helps.
Well, yeah, but they play different
Doesn't matter.
characters. Yeah.
It's all just how you edit it together.
I'm not sure Vinnie Jones has ever played a different character. Like it's just different
Right,
names.
that's partially it. He's always the same guy unless he's Juggernaut.
Yeah. So I don't know. But like I said, like I'm sure, or even if they could make one be more of a sequel to the other, but I would love to somehow, because like I say, I always feel like they have the exact same feel. You know, Guy Ritchie, obviously using the same actors at times. Again, it's not my place to say it, but if they could somehow make them intertwine a little more, I would love that.
And if I may, that was back when Guy Ritchie made good movies.
Right.
Yeah.
That's also a factor. Yeah. I think he lost his fastball. But actually, what was the one from last year, the Gentleman with Colin Farrell?
Oh, yeah.
He just made
that
a
was
new
good.
movie
that was good actually.
Came out.
Yes, yeah, he did like a.
I'm sorry.
Something.
It's with Jason Statham because he's at like every movie, and Audrey Plaza's in it, and Hugh Grant.
Yeah, but apparently it's not good, isn't it? Like, not know the guy, but there are a couple words in French in the title.
It's like Operation Fortune.
Yes, something like something
and it's like Ruse de
Guerre. Yeah, that's it. Let me look it up to double check, but
this is good podcasting while we look stuff up, everybody.
Yeah, great.
By the way, while you look that up, I will say I do think that Jason Statham, he's not really the best actor, but I do enjoy his movies probably more than I should.
I do as well.
I don't know. They're always entertaining, and I don't know.
Yep, you were right, though, Patrick. It is Operation Fortune. Ruse de Guerre?
Yes, Ruse de Guerre. It's like a war. Ruse de Guerre, it would be like a war trick. And a ruse, like a ruse, actually.
Oh, okay. Hey, there you go.
So, yeah. Statham might not have the biggest range, but he is very charismatic, excellent athlete as well. And, like, he seems likable.
Yeah.
You want to cheer for the guy.
I feel like him and Idris Elba like have if they ever did like a buddy movie, like mind blown, I think. I don't know.
Right. Didn't they do that? Like Hobbs and Shaw or something? The Fast and Furious?
Oh, The Rock, yeah. But...
Oh, okay. Sorry. Because I think Elba was the bad guy in that movie.
Don't remember.
I just think he gets wrongfully shit on by people.
Mm.
And I'm sorry, but some of his lines in Snatch, like just the dry, oh my gosh, like how you can't laugh. It's just brilliant.
Nothing, Tommy. It's tip top. I'm just not sure about the color.
Oh, it's great.
Sorry for the shitty accent. I can only do my own. Okay, so that's the fan edit for you, Mike. Nick, what did you have in mind?
Okay, so when you asked us this question, first thing that came to my mind was, do you guys notice that almost every year, or maybe every other year, there's always two movies released in the same calendar year that are pretty much identical in terms of plot or story? So there's so many examples of it, but like...
Armageddon, Deep Impact.
Oh, don't talk, because that was going to be my...
sorry. I just
Spoiler alert.
Pull the rug from under. Sorry.
No, like No Strings Attached and Friends with Benefits. It's like the same movie, but they're two different ones. And Olympus Has Fallen and White House is Down. And I was going to say that a really great mashup would be Armageddon and Deep Impact, just to see if that actually makes those two shitty movies actually a good movie. So that would be my answer.
Shit movie plus shit movie equals good movie? Question mark?
Or just a poop emoji.
Yes.
Or no, like a poop emoji with like fire.
And a flaming bag of shit stinks even more.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
That would be my answer.
Nick, I'm sorry I completely spoiled your answer.
Actually, can I give a different answer that's similar, because like a backup movie answer?
Sure.
So, did you ever see the movie eXistenZ, the David Cronenberg movie with Jude Law?
Yes.
That and The Matrix, mash those two up, like you get the Wachowskis and Cronenberg. Oh my god, mind blown.
Yeah, that's a good show. And actually, we may or may not talk a little bit about a Cronenberg movie in the movies section. So.
Wait, quick, ruin it for him, Nick. Ruin it for us.
Okay, so then I guess we can move on to movies, actually. So, what we watched. Woody, we can start with you with movies.
All right, so I've been doing a lot of TV lately, but I'm going to weigh in with I've got 3 movies. The first one snuck up on me. It was one of those sitting at home with my wife on a Saturday night trying to find something. Is a Netflix movie called We Have a Ghost. It is with David Harbour and Anthony Mackie. It's just a silly, sweet little movie about these an African-American family that move into a haunted house. And if you've ever seen the old Eddie Murphy stand-up bit about where they walk in a house and the get out, well, it's time to go. It's one of those, except they decide to monetize the fact that there is a ghost in the house. And David Harbour plays, of course, a ghost that can't talk, which he does a fantastic job of not talking through an entire movie. And it's a sweet little movie about a family that's kind of falling apart. This ghost kind of brings them together. It's got social media in it. It's just a sweet little movie. So that's kind of the first one. Again, We Have a Ghost on Netflix.
All right.
Second one. So these are the big ones. So John Wick 4.
Yes.
Wow. I loved John Wick 1. I thought it was fantastic. We actually had a group of friends called the Wickies, and we would go see the John Wick movies together. And I went into this one going, okay, yeah, I know.
Nerd alert.
Nerd alert. I warned y'all earlier. So it starts at, I feel like a year to a year and a half after the end of John Wick 3.
Okay.
So I don't know what John Wick's motivation is anymore, except to try to get out, which is what I thought the past 2 movies were about. If you like John Wick, you're going to like this one. It's 2 hours and 44 minutes long. It was way too long. There's way to the point of I got bored with some of the best fight scenes I've ever seen.
Jesus.
There's too much. And per our fan edit, I would fan edit that thing down to under 2 hours. There's so much of the fighting scenes that could be taken out of it. And I think I texted all of you guys after I went and saw it that I had to. So at the end credits, there's supposed to be a post-credit scene. There's a post-credit scene. My boss called me and I'm like, crap. So I had to walk out and talk to my boss. And so I didn't get to see the end credits. I went to see Shazam the next day, got done with Shazam and like, oh, I'll just walk into this other theater and I'll watch the end credits because it's got to be almost over. I walked into the theater and I sat down. I'm like, I can't wait. I can't go through the end of this movie again to watch it because it becomes the Sisyphusian is the best thing I can say is he gets through one battle or one thing and something bad happens that drags him all the way back. And it's like, God, stop.
It's like an old Nintendo game when you couldn't save your progress.
That is it exactly. I mean, to ruin it, partially, I'll try to do it in a good way. There's one fight scene where he gets all the way to the end and then he slips and he has to do it all again. And it's like, come on, I don't need to see that again. So anyway, so John Wick, if you like it, you'll like it, but it's wicked long.
I think the best, maybe not the best, but maybe a good comparison we could do is The Raid versus The Raid 2. The Raid 1 was like 90 minutes, super lean, doesn't waste 1 second. And The Raid 2 was like 1 hour more, 2.5 hours. It was amazing, but, it was like a lot of it.
That's perfect comparison. That is exactly the perfect comparison to it.
There you go.
And they do set it up for sequels, but I had to actually read what the sequels are going to be. And so just go see it. You'll watch it and go, oh, it's that person and that person. Okay, I see what they're going to do.
So you did see the post-credit scene after all?
I read it because I didn't want to wait for it.
Okay. So you weren't able to physically sit through the end again.
No, I literally walked in. I walked into it because I never sneak into a theater anymore. But I walked in and I sat down and I literally was there for like less than a minute. And I'm like, I can't do this again. Like, I will never watch that movie again.
Wow. My God.
Yeah.
Okay. But still, you recommend it?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
If you like that movie, go see it. I mean, it's like Avatar. I'm sure Avatar Way of Water was good. I don't need to go see it. But if you like that, you'll love it. The fight scenes are fantastic.
Let's agree to disagree on Avatar.
Fair enough. No. I'm not saying me. Saying that other person. That sounds like a Mudford thing. I think Mudford would have really. Since he can't defend himself. All right, last movie I got. I had to see this one just for the, I'm going to say finger quote controversy of it, but it was the Shazam 4 Fury of the Gods.
Okay.
Part of it was just because I'm a comic book nerd and I needed to go see it. I can say I didn't like it, but I cried like 4 times in it. It had some really...
Because you were stuck there?
No. There's some really touching kind of family stuff in it.
Okay.
So the family narrative, because it's the Shazam family, that's the whole thing that a lot of it is based upon. There's some really sweet, touching things in it. And the movie is filled with a lot of me going, what movie was that person in? What movie was that person in? Because it has like Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu, and it's got the girl who's in West Side Story, Scream, the new Scream movie.
To Jessica Ortega or something like that?
No, not Jenna Ortega, but it's the one who plays her sister in that movie. But she plays one of the...
I was close.
Right, one of the goddesses in it. It was a nice movie. Watch it at home. But you wouldn't... I don't know that you need to go see that one. And the way that they're kind of using it to close out the last DC kind of set. Because now there's the whole controversy about Dwayne Johnson wouldn't let anybody from Black Adam in this movie and vice versa.
Okay.
And to the point of like Vin Diesel has come out and said that Zachary Levi's my best friend because he hates The Rock. Yeah.
What this is playground stuff.
It is exactly.
Jesus.
It's kind of whack, but
my God.
Anyway, we saw it. And then the one I'm looking forward to, because you asked us that, is, of course, the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Mm-hmm.
So that comes out this weekend. I've had friends who've seen it in previews and say it's good. My son and I are going to go watch it because we're D&D nerds.
All right. Sounds good. And quickly, did you watch something that you hated?
Well, that's kind of that Shazam was kind of in there.
Oh, okay.
Was that one as I didn't like it, but I liked parts of it.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Mike, what do you have for movies?
Well, like Woody, I'm going to fly through this because I only have one. And the only movie that I think I've watched that I remember watching was Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank. And I believe it's on Netflix here in Canada. I can't remember, but I will say this. The only thing that kind of interested me, and I didn't realize it right away, and all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, was that it is a take on Blazing Saddles done in a cartoon form. Mel Brooks is actually part of it. He plays a character who comes in later on. You know, if you know the Blazing Saddles movie and you're watching this, then you kind of think, hey, that's and this, that, whatever. But it was good. I liked it. It wasn't great. It's a good rainy Sunday afternoon movie with the kids.
I heard that made some people's best pictures last year.
Really?
The voice work in all these films is pretty amazing. And him playing Hank, who's the kind of the dreamer who wants to be the warrior who protects this village. He's great. He really lends that kind of empathy or sympathy to that main character. But not a great film, but my son liked it. And I say that a lot when I'm reviewing movies on this podcast.
Hey, was one of the characters merely a pawn in the game of life?
I may have got up for a drink at that point. I can't tell you. So that's all I've got. TV, I'll have more, but that's all I've got at the moment.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Nick. What do you have for movies?
So I got my AMC A-list pass. So
we know.
So I have been seeing a lot more because I've been trying to get more bang for my buck. So I'm going to go in order of the ones I've seen that are worth mentioning, at least. Cocaine Bear, I did about a month ago. Is it a good movie? I don't know. It's predictable, but I had a good time. And it's pretty much what you'd expect exactly from a movie called Cocaine Bear. And Ray Liotta's last role, so that was partly why I wanted to see it as well, because I love Ray Liotta, because Goodfellas is one of my favorite movies ever. Probably seen that movie more than any movie ever.
He was never bad. Even though he was in many terrible movies, he was never bad.
No, he was always good in everything. And I always think of his first movie that he was his breakout role, and that was Something Wild, the Jonathan Demme movie. And he's so good in it. He had like this like unstable, psychotic, yet charming characters that he would play for the rest of his career. And he is all that in Cocaine Bear. It's a good time in the theater.
Sorry, just so people don't look for the movie Mike mentioned on Netflix. It's not on Netflix, it's on Paramount.
Yeah, so if Patrick can't edit out the banging during my talking, my son heard me say it, and he's like, so I went to see him, obviously, while you were talking about Cocaine Bear there really quick, and I just to make sure everything was okay, and he's like, it wasn't Netflix, it was Paramount Plus. I said, okay.
God damn it, Mike Drew.
I know, sorry.
God damn it, Dad. Come on, Dad.
I know. Terrible.
All right.
So I've got one piece of Cocaine Bear trivia to see if you guys know this. What country star actually owned the Cocaine Bear for a short period of time? The actual Cocaine Bear.
Waylon Jennings.
There you go.
Okay.
Because someone mentioned it in a review on Letterboxd, and I thought that was absolutely bonkers.
Wait, as a pet or as
as a
rug?
Because the whole story is after the fact. They find this bear. They're dead because of cocaine.
Oh,
and
okay.
They stuffed it.
Gotcha.
And then at one point he owned it. And then this weekend, somebody is getting married, and the stuffed bear is the officiant. I just heard that today.
I will say, though, buddy, this is what I was telling someone after I saw this movie. I think there needs to be a Cocaine Bear trilogy. The sequel has to be Paddington. Paddington is Cocaine Bear 2. And then Winnie the Pooh is Cocaine Bear 3. I think you have the trifecta of like amazing bears that, it needs to happen.
And this one is just right.
Yeah.
So what other movies have you watched?
So I saw Scream 6. That was a lot of fun. And has anyone seen Scream 6 in this room?
Nope.
So
not interested, to be honest. I couldn't give a shit about that universe. I saw the first one. It was good enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
So the Scream movies, I think, are a lot of fun, especially if you like movies, but also like the meta humor, because the whole point is that these people are basically so smart and they know so much about horror movies, but yet they all like get these situations and often die because of their own lapses in judgment. But I really enjoyed this one. I will say, though, as a native New Yorker, they did a terrible, terrible job of recreating New York City because it does not look like New York. And when I looked it up, it was Vancouver.
Of course.
Because the streets were way too clean. And there wasn't a lot of people on the streets. And I was like, this does not look like New York City. Because in the Scream movies, it took place on the West Coast in California. And this was the first one that takes place on the East Coast. I really enjoyed it. I mean, there's some plot holes and whatnot, but there's going to be a Scream 7, and it will be a lot of fun.
Okay.
But that's a good series, though, at least. Like, I mean, there's far worse horror movie franchises out there.
Well, yeah, but like, if that's your bar to clear, you're going to watch every shit show that's going to come out for the next 50 fucking years.
It'll make you scream.
Oh, God. Yeah. In despair on how shitty those movies have become. Yeah, there you go.
It was a good time at the movies.
That's what matters.
The next one that I did see was a movie called Champions. That was with Woody Harrelson. It was written and directed by Bobby Farrelly.
I'd like to see this.
It came and went. I happened to see it after work one night and was not sure what to expect with it. I actually thought it was a really good movie. It was a feel-good sports movie. It's kind of in the same vein as Slapshot and the Bad News Bears. So I had that like throwback mentality about like a disgraced coach who basically redeems himself by working with, how do I phrase, like
mentally disabled, I believe is how they
I'm trying to think of the politically correct word to say.
That's because they were talking about it a lot on some of the TV stations here, and I was seeing it as like a Mighty Ducks thing. Was it like that?
It's a hard R in some aspects. Like Woody Harrelson and the characters talk about their privates a lot. But it's funny, though. There's a lot of very funny moments throughout. And It was a crowd pleaser. I really enjoyed it. I think it's one that you could wait for a streaming service. Like, it's probably going to be on Peacock because it's a Universal movie. But yeah, I would recommend it. Although it is like a little over 2 hours, so it's slightly over long for what it is.
Hashtag fan edit.
Yeah. Well, sorry. Let me get the wording right here because I wanted to look it up just because I double checked. The term was intellectual disabilities is how they were described. So then Bad News Bears is probably a good proxy for that because back in the day, Tanner was a foul-mouthed little kid. So I'm talking the original, the Walter Matthau one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It also slapshot with the immortal Paul Newman.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so go ahead.
Ant-Man 3 was very meh, and I did not care for it at all. It's of the most meandering plot devices and subpar special effects. Was really a weekend treat in the Marvel universe, and I think at Ant-Man, the first two are kind of hidden gems in the Marvel cinematic universe, and this one, it did have Michael Pena, and he was kind of like the best part of those first two movies, so his absence was like a sore thumb in this one, and it just felt very unnecessary.
I agree. I saw it as well, and the joke that we had was that his daughter, her only line was, "Dad," because that's all she does the entire movie is just yell, "Dad."
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Written by someone with kids.
It was just felt so unnecessary and just was not all that interesting, the plot. And yeah, just very disappointed. Like the first two Ant-Man movies, and Marvel sort of needed a hit with that, like a good movie entry. And
Yeah.
did I do something?
You said Marvel needed a hit on this one, and wah wah,
Oh,
swing and a miss completely.
I will tell a quick story about the next movie. That's really crazy. Is Creed 3 I saw on Saturday night, and I went to go see the movie, and
Jonathan Majors beat the shit out of you afterwards.
well, like, it's the third week of release or fourth week. Like, I had my phone on mute because I was trying to pay attention to the movie, and it was a pretty packed show. And I come to the car, I turn off my phone with all notifications. I get all these messages about Jonathan Majors with him getting arrested, and it was the most surreal experience. Like, literally, you're watching a movie about boxing and him like assaulting people and like fighting people and doing terrible things, and he did that in real life apparently, and that's just very
Allegedly.
I was like, of all the days I could have saw Creed 3, I see it on the day that happened. But it was a good movie.
Did you remember people like noticing or whispering in the theater, or everyone was well disciplined with their phone? Holy shit. That's the biggest surprise about this.
Yes, everyone was very disciplined. And then the last one really fast is The Lost King. Have you heard of that, Patrick? It's a BBC movie.
No?
It's with Sally Hawkins and Steve Coogan.
Coogan?
Do you remember Philomena, the one that came out like 8 or 9 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve Coogan.
It's like the same people who did that plus Sally Hawkins. And basically it's based on a true story about her trying to be like an amateur historian, archivist, and she works with a group of people to try to find the remains of Richard III. And she's pretty, you don't know what the hell's going on. And then she sees like a figment of her imagination is Richard III. And it's supposed to be like a comedy drama. I didn't really like it all that much. It was kind of dry. And it was uneven.
I haven't heard anything about that one.
It was
Sorry.
shocked that it was playing near me, quite honestly, because I think it came out at Sundance or one of the festivals last year that it like flew under the radar. And then it just randomly played this weekend. And I was like, sure, I like everyone who's involved. And it's a pleasant movie, but it's also not really anything worth noting. And you'll probably forget it in a week.
Okay. All right. So that's the movies?
Yeah.
All right. God. No, but I mean, I'm looking at my list and it's mostly TV. And, I saw Living with Bill Nye.
Oh,
nice.
Did you like it?
Yes, I did. Yep. I'm doing a terrible job of going into detail, but
Sell it. Come on, buddy.
I mean, yeah, some parts were really, touching, and it's about like leaving this world a better place than when you arrived, I suppose. I mean, that's what I got from it. And yeah, Naive completely deserved his nomination. He was so composed and so, dignified. Yeah, good stuff. And I also, you guys have probably seen this one, The Drop from 2014 with Tom Hardy and James Gandolfini.
I've wanted to see that because I love Tom Hardy.
Can't say I have.
It is so good. It is insanely good. And Tom Hardy is this guy who doesn't talk that much, but, Tom Hardy's this brooding energy that can, you can never know when it's going to blow up on you. And Gandolfini, that must have been one of his last roles, maybe. It is from a short story by, not William Devane, that's the actor.
Dennis Lahan.
Yes. Jesus.
Oh, the guy who did Mystic River?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a really good writer.
Yep. So that's from a short story. I read the story as well. I love how they expanded on some parts of that short story, and the parts that were created out of nowhere, they were really good as well. So yeah, check it out. I forgot who directed it, but yes.
Mikhail Rashkam.
I don't know what else he's done. I'm doing a terrible job of selling it, but yeah, honestly, watch it.
Bullhead.
Ah, yes, Bullhead. That's another one with Matthias Schoenhardt, the Belgian actor. He's been doing Hollywood movies for a while now.
Oh, Rust and Bone, the Danish Girl, Red Sparrow. Okay.
Yes,
yep.
yes.
Got
it. Thank you, Jesus. Okay. Well, okay, so there you go. What else? Oh, yeah, I mentioned Cronenberg. I saw Infinity Pool from Brandon Cronenberg. I liked it, but I thought his previous movie, Possessor, was better. And I talked about Possessor here before on a previous episode. I don't know if you guys remember. So yeah, it's good. You have to suspend your disbelief big time, of course, but they could have done more with that premise. It could have been way more fucked up than it was. So it was disappointing on that aspect because, it's a Cronenberg movie.
You're expecting the same from the son that you are from the father?
Well, it's the same kind of movie almost.
Okay.
Brandon Cronenberg is still, young, so who knows what's going to happen.
He's got time to be more twisted.
Yes, exactly. And let's hope this fucked up world will do the job. I think that's it for movies for me. Okay, so yeah, let's move on to TV now. Let's start with Woody. What do you have for us?
All right, so stuff I've been watching recently. Actually, I got slowed down quite a bit. So this is a shout out to Tom Norberg, who was mentioned earlier. But the World Baseball Classic was awesome. I cannot believe how much I got into that thing. It was just some of the best teams I've ever seen playing baseball. I don't want to go into it because this is everything except the football, and I will say the baseball. And I feel like I'm the only sports meathead guy on here.
That's not true.
Is it? All right.
No, it's just that I bailed on baseball a long time ago, but I can talk sports for sure.
Okay. Well, there was a Canadian team. That was the other reason why I thought you guys might like it. But I just thought it was super fun. And it was drama because the last play of the game was Shohei Ohtani pitching to Mike Trout. It was so cool. And Ohtani struck him out on pitches that Trout should have hit. It was just awesome. All right, so then jumping into the good shows here, I'll go kind of quick. But Shrinking ended, and Ted Lasso kicked off. Same guy who produces them both. Are two sister shows that you should watch together. Shrinking is about Jason Segel. We talked about it on the last episode, who is a psychiatrist who's dealing with his wife's death. All I can say is the ending is. Have you guys watched it?
Yes,
I need to. I feel so bad.
Oh, okay.
I haven't.
Oh, all I've got. The ending is boop.
Absolutely.
The word boop.
That's all
you need to know. And then Ted Lasso kicked off. I think I may have messaged you guys about a third of the way into the first episode. I'm like, this isn't, kind of really disappointed. By the time the first episode got done, I'm like, oh crap, they're doing it again.
Okay.
I'll add to that in a minute. I guess when it's my turn, unless you want me to do it now, I can just do it now.
No,
The first episode, my wife turned to me and said, And I went, yeah, it was okay. Like, I was happy that the show was back. The second episode, and as of the time we record this, has only been the first 2 episodes. The second episode brought it all back for me. I loved it.
Yep.
So, and just going back to what you were saying about shrinking, because I won't talk about it during mine, was just, I agree with you. And Brett Goldstein, who plays Roy Kent, had, I think, rights for both, or helps.
Yeah, he's executive producer of both.
Okay, there you go. And yeah, so it definitely has that, I hate to use a cliche like vibe, but they do. They're very, I think one is, if you like one, I'd be surprised if you didn't like the other. And I loved Shrinking. It was that was the first one I was going to talk about. So yeah.
Good. Well, thank you, Patrick, for letting me go first.
Oh, no, I mean, if you have anything else, go right ahead.
I'll just go some quick ones here. So a sneaky one right now that I really like is a show called Agent Elvis on Netflix.
Okay.
It's an animated series starring Matthew McConaughey as Elvis.
Okay.
It's so Adult Swim, like that cartoon after. So if you, like we talked about Primal before,
yes,
the animation style is very similar to Primal.
Okay.
In a way. And it's just basically like how Elvis is even cooler than you think he is, and he becomes kind of a spy. And it's just weird. Like, again, if you're on the right mindset, it'd be even weirder, if you know what I mean. That's one I've been watching. You guys I finished up Reservation Dogs. Thank you guys for kind of berating me last time for not watching it. I finally went back. I loved it. Good job. Thank you for that. And then, because I like to give everybody a cooking show or a cooking related show, is Restaurants at the End of the World on Nat Geo. So Kristen Kirsch, who won season of Top Chef, I think 2 seasons or 3 seasons ago, she goes to really, really remote restaurants. So the first one is on the top of a mountain in Panama. And it's kind of a self-sustaining restaurant started by a former airplane pilot and his wife. And they have to locally source everything. Some of the stuff's a little staged, but it's a good story. And like the second episode is she goes to a restaurant that's in Norway that takes you like 4 days to get to it. And it is an abandoned radio station.
Oh, that's cool.
And stuff like that. So it's really kind of weird. And then she'll come in and like help the chef develop a dish or something like that. So it's really cool. Get into that.
Would you ever go to a restaurant that takes 4 days to get there? I don't think I would.
You're asking Woody. Have you seen his Instagram?
Of course I would. I know. I'd do it. Of course, I'd give that a shot. My only disappointment was there was only 4 courses, but whatever. Some stuff that I'm kind of on the fence about is Iron Chef World All-Stars. So again, a cooking show where they bring in the winners or at least highly placed guys or chefs from I didn't realize that there's they have Top Chef North Africa, Middle East. They have a Top Chef South Africa. I knew they had Top Chef Canada, but they have Top Chef Germany and Top Chef Poland. So they brought a bunch of those people together in London, and that's where they're doing the season this year. I'm starting to get over that show a little bit because it's kind of routine. The new Survivor is out. That's a show my son and I still watch. We've been watching it together for 12 years. So it's our thing. The only part that sucks now is he gets off work at 11 o'clock at night, so I got to wait for him to get home, and then we watch it. Again, so-so season this year. We'll let Aaron yell at the podcast on that one. So I'm going to jump to the stuff. Oh, and then the last one is History of the World Part 2. Have you guys watched any of those?
So my dad loves Mel Brooks, and I used to have to watch that a lot because that was one of his favorite movies, but I heard nothing good about Part 2 at all.
I'm disappointed. And the problem, it's Nick Kroll, Ike Barinholtz, and Wanda Sykes are the 3 main people behind it. But it's literally got any comedy actor out right now it seems to be on that show. I wanted it to be so funny, and it's not. It's just, I can't get behind it. So that would be one I would recommend. Don't waste your time on it.
Is it an example, would you say, of too many cooks in the kitchen? Because that's kind of what I've heard from other friends who watched it, that it's they're throwing too much in a single scene, and it's just not. It is.
It's fun. One of those things. It all should work, but it doesn't. So one of the examples is it's the Kama Sutra. And so they have Kumail Nanjiani, who, if most people will know him from like the Eternals and some of that other stuff. But it's the Kama Sutra, except it's a book that's sexual positions and soup. So, right. It seems like that should be funny.
Should it? I'm not laughing.
I'm just saying, on the principle of it, when you see it, you eventually go, oh, that could be funny. And then you go through it and go,
okay.
And then at the end of it, it's like, we'll buy the book. We'll edit out the soup.
Christ.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the last one is the don't watch it, even though you probably weren't, is Night Court.
Right.
So the Night Court reboot, it's so hacky. I wanted it again to be good.
You talked about it last episode.
Yeah. Gave it 10 episodes.
Okay.
I went all the way through. Again, John Larroquette was great. The funniest thing in it is, and I will end on this, her name is Judge Abby Stone, and they bring in Faith Ford to be her mother. And they go, well, Abby, you know your real first name is Abracadabra.
That's not bad.
It was cute. And I'm very good because to Harry Anderson callback, I was like, okay, that was at least sweet. And so my daughter is named Abby, and so I called her Abacadabra, and she's like, never call me that again. I said, okay.
She said, Dad.
So that's what I've got for TV.
All right. Thank you. Mike, what do you have?
Okay. Well, we talked about Ted Lasso, talked about Shrinking. Shrinking, definitely. If you haven't seen it and you like that, you like Ted Lasso, you'd be just letting yourself down if you didn't. I will say that since we talked last, I watched series 2 of Hacks, which I really liked. And Nick, I remember him saying it's kind of a road comedy, and it definitely is. But I really liked it. And I like the fact that it kind of seemed like it was a final. It's done. I really liked it. But the 3 shows I'll talk about really quickly. I'm going to start with a Netflix series that I actually just heard about. I don't know how I missed it, but it's called This Is Pop. It's from 2021, so 2 years ago. I've only watched 2 episodes. I'm not going to lie. Some of the topics don't really interest me. I think it's 8 parts. The 2 that I've watched so far was the second episode, which was all about Britpop. It was okay. Being a big Britpop fan and guy and kind of historian at this point, I've seen better. There's a great film called Live Forever, which is what I would recommend if anybody's looking kind of for more of an overview of what the scene was like at the time. But there was an episode called The Brill Building in 4 songs, and it was fantastic. What a great episode. Just talking about, Carole King and Neil Sedaka and all those people being in there writing. Neil Sedaka claims he was the Justin Bieber of the 50s, which is hilarious, which is great. But so really well done. Created by Banger Films, which is a Canadian company who did the Rush movie and the ZZ Top, sorry, I'm Canadian, movie. Really well done. And I'm sure the other episodes are great. I just haven't had a time to kind of get into them yet. The next show I'll talk about really quickly, because I'm only 3 episodes in and I'm not sure I'm going further. In fact, I can tell you I'm not, is Class of '07, which is currently on Amazon Prime. I will tell you that the first 5 minutes of the very first episode is arguably one of the most brilliant 5 opening minutes to a comedy series I've ever seen.
Wow.
I laughed I was like, this is going to be amazing. And then it doesn't become it. It's kind of this apocalyptic comedy that's set in Australia. There's the main character, and I don't want to give away the first couple minutes, but the main actress is Emily Browning. She's an Australian actress. Something happens in the first 5 minutes of the very first episode where she ends up becoming a bit of a recluse who lives on a trailer in the middle of nowhere. Water starts coming out of the earth. She's getting things on her phone that say she's got to get to higher ground. The highest ground is her old high school, which is kind of this private school or whatever. And there just happens to be a high school reunion with her class being there. And she does know about it, but it's all ridiculous. I'm not going to lie. The first episode is weird. The second episode is okay because it's them trying to figure out how they're going to survive, and it's, comical and what have you. By the third episode, I had it on and I was folding laundry and and cleaning, and I was just like, I don't know what's going on. Just because I kind of lost touch. I mean, there's some funny lines, but I don't think it's a great show. No, I will put the asterisk saying I may not be the target audience, being, midlife, man, I don't know. I'm not going to say, I don't know. But I will say that first 4 or 5 minutes of the first episode is probably just worth watching that. I'm sure people like it. It's got good reviews online. Doesn't do anything for me. But the next show that I'll talk about is something then, Patrick, I know you and I enjoy kind of our British crime shows. So there's a new series of Unforgotten, which I don't know if people are familiar with that, but it's an ITV drama over there. It was about Nicola Walker. She was in MI5. She was in what's that? Halifax, all the way to Halifax or something show. I can't remember. She's a well-known British actress, and Sanjeev Bhaskar, I believe I'm pronouncing his name correctly. They played she was the boss and he was her kind of first in command. And really good. It was about cold cases, and they were both so empathetic to and sympathetic to, those who had died, the families, trying to figure out what had happened. And I think this is the 5th series. Nicola Walker's character, spoiler if you haven't seen it, is killed off at the end of the 4th series. So the new series, the 5th series, there's a new boss. It's another actress named Sinead Keenan. She's not necessarily the most likable character the first couple episodes. And even though you know what she's going through, needless to say,
You don't care, you hate her anyway.
you do. And you almost hate her because Di Khan, who's Sanjeev Bhaskar, he's so likable, and you know him from the previous series, and you want him to, you're like, well, why isn't he doing this role? And you kind of find out, but he doesn't like her. And therefore you don't like her, right? And but then it starts to thaw a little bit. I think I'm on episode 4 right now, but I love the way that they intertwine 4 different stories trying to figure out this cold case from, well, I won't give any spoilers, but I've given enough in this podcast. But yeah, it's just really well done. And if you like kind of slow moving, but not like plotting, but slow crime cases that kind of make you think, like especially that cold case thing, I think you'll like it. It's really well done. And if you like British crime dramas, I'd be very surprised if you didn't.
All right. That's it for TV for you, Mike?
Yeah, I don't like what he was saying. I'm just kind of looking forward to Ted Lasso, continuing. And and now with my Apple Plus, I actually get MSL or Major League Soccer, and I probably won't watch it, but just knowing that I can watch a TFC game if I want to, I might from time to time. So, and not have to, find other ways to enjoy it.
Yes.
You pay a ticket and go to the game.
Wow, there's
course.
that. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Nick, what do you have for TV?
So I have been made fun of for many years for not watching a very famous TV show. I'm going to see if you guys can guess it. It's considered probably the best drama series of the 21st century.
The Wire.
Sopranos?
Well, no, let him keep going.
No, this is good.
Not enough clues.
It was on cable.
Sopranos? No, I don't know.
The Wire? No.
Well, I think the greatest drama of the last 10 years is The Bridge.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a Scandi drama. But
Oh, easy. He said great.
It's a big Emmy winner. Breaking Bad.
I've never seen it either.
Okay.
So it's funny. I got made fun of a lot because I lived in New Mexico for a year and a half, and the show takes place in Albuquerque. And I will say, it's ended 10 years ago, so I'm not really going to go too much into it, but just saying that I'm on season 4 of the 5 seasons, and it's so good. Like, I feel like I should have watched it when it came out, and there were reasons for that. Like, I was in college and just didn't have time to watch a show like that and appreciate it. But I'm so glad that I have been able to watch it, and it's on Netflix. And yeah, it deserves all the praise that's gotten. The performances for Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul are just outstanding, and the whole show is really just incredible. Keeps me on the edge of my seat the entire time, and I've been like binging it for the last few weeks. Really, really good. Not much else for TV for me, but I will say my favorite show probably the last decade started last night, and that's Succession. It's the final season. I cannot wait for it because it's so good. I love it so much, and I can't wait. I mean, I'm very sad because I love it so much, but it's coming to an end. But I'd rather it end on a high note tend to kind of go down in quality. And then Barry is started in the next few weeks, its final season as well, which I love that show as well. So all the good shows like Ted Lasso and Succession and Barry.
April 16th for Barry.
Yeah.
So next time, when we do this, I might talk about another show that Matthew McFadden, who's on Succession, is in, and we watched about the first 10 minutes of the first episode and something happened and we had to stop, but I'm going to go back to it, is Stonehouse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I want to watch that and I'm sure I'll talk about it next time. But I just find with Succession, like, I find it really difficult to watch a show where all the characters are just
terrible people.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. We talked about this last time.
Yeah.
And the trailers that I've seen, I mean, maybe they saved the best stuff for the episodes themselves, but the trailers didn't blow me away or anything, you know? And season 1 was more than enough for me anyway. So I wasn't going to go back, but...
I don't like TV really, and that show blew me away. Not that I don't like TV, but I'm not really as big of TV watchers as you three at all. But that one, it gets to me. And I think it's such a interesting fable about like this family who are terrible people, about a media empire, and they just do these just terrible things to each other to basically for their own selfish reasons. But I can't stop watching it either. I don't know. Maybe it says more about me, but but I love it. I think that the acting is so great. Like Jeremy Strong, he's so good. I mean, he literally pisses off his entire cast because he gets so in the character.
One of those guys, huh?
Oh, have you read the
method actor stuff? Yeah,
the interviews. Like, it's crazy. Like the likes he goes to, and the father just shits on him, like Brian Cox in interviews. It's like it's more interesting than probably the season itself.
I will say that Brian Cox did an Australian show about a crime family in Australia called The Heights, and he was kind of like, I don't want to say the godfather of it, but in that kind of role. And I feel like this would just be the same. And I'm just like, I'm not sure if it's really for me. And like, we said, Woody, I have to connect it. I don't necessarily have to like them, but I think if they're just really bad, I'm just like, why am I putting myself through this?
If you want them to get, run over by a truck every time you see them, maybe it's time to bounce.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, Drew and I are the big softies with Ted Lasso and Shrinking. And
that's right.
That's nice stuff. And
cooking shows.
And I come in with
show.
Succession.
Right, you come in with that, yeah.
Oh, it's so good, though. 2 shows I do want to see that have just come out are DZ Jones and the Six, which is apparently supposed to be something about Fleetwood Mac. It's based on a book, of course, but it takes place in 70s LA, like the music scene, and it looks really good. My parents really enjoyed that one, so I'll have to check it out. And then Poker Face is the other one.
Poker Face was good. I watched all of those. It's very, everybody else has said this, but it's very like the 1970s Columbo.
Mm-hmm.
I really it's one of those, I don't know if I liked it, but I appreciated it a lot kind of thing. Cause just Natasha Lyonne is just kind of grating after a while.
Yeah. She's one of those that I can only take in small doses.
Yeah. Like in Russian Doll.
Correct.
Yeah.
I loved the first season of that, but couldn't watch the second season.
I didn't even try. One season was enough for me.
And going back to the Daisy Jones, my wife read the book and she wasn't a big fan of it. But that being said, she's not like a music nerd like us, or, so I'm not sure she would have connected. And I think if I want to watch this show, I'm probably going to have to do it on my own. So, but I've heard nothing but good things about the show. I've heard better reviews about the show than I have the book. And I know a couple people that have read the book. So,
yeah, that I agree with, because when it came out a few years ago, it got very mixed reception. But this one, it actually is getting good reviews. And I think Lisa Marie Presley's daughter is the title character.
Riley Keough.
Yeah, looks good though.
So another one I just wanted to throw out, if you guys have heard anything about it, is just because the Breaking Bad thing reminds me, is Lucky Hank.
Mm-hmm.
It's Bob Odenkirk's new show. I watched the first episode of it. I'd be interested if you guys... It's about a guy who is a department head of an English department at a small college. I'm like, what the hell is this thing about? I don't get it. And so but if Bob Odenkirk's in it, it's got to be good. He's coming off of Better Call Saul. So I'm like, what's going on?
And that's based on a book as well, I think, right?
Is it Lucky Hank? I don't.
Oh, here we go. Straight Man, 1997 novel. Yeah, by Richard Russo. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So that's it for TV, Nick?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Okay.
Just Breaking Bad is amazing. So
it's got enough press, Nick. We don't need.
Oh, I know. Like I'm like the last person on earth who hasn't seen it.
Mike, you haven't seen it
No, I'm
either,
really
you said?
bad at took me forever to start watching The Wire. Sorry, I was just coughing on my water right before I replied to you here. Yeah.
Getting emotional talking about not watching The Wire.
I'm really bad. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen most of the Sopranos. I've seen some Sopranos. I haven't seen any Dexter. I had, all those shows that got a lot of really good reviews, hype, etc. I don't know. I always just find something else, and there's only so many hours in the day, So
yeah,
there's too much content, and there's not enough time in the day. That's how I always look at it with TV and movies.
there's not too much good content.
Yes, that's the problem. That's why this Lucky Hank show, why I brought it up, is it's one episode, but if it's not good, like the Night Court thing, I'm mad at myself for wasting 5 hours watching Night Court.
Mm-hmm.
Because I kept thinking it would get better. Although I've been married for my wife for 26 years, she keeps thinking it'll get better, but that's her.
What do they call it? The sunken cost fallacy? Is that it? You sink so much time into something, hoping that it will be worth it at the end, and it doesn't. And you're turbo fucked because you wasted so much time or money or whatever.
I think you found the title for this episode.
Right. There you go.
Turbo fucked.
You know what I mean,
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
Yes, I do.
Sunken cost fallacy, I think it's called. But anyway. Okay, so yeah, let's get this train wreck back on the rails. I think this Gatorade had caffeine in it. That's why I'm wired. Okay. I should have mentioned it in movies probably, but I saw the new Luther on Netflix.
Oh, I mentioned that last time and I hadn't seen it yet.
Yes, it was coming out in a few days after the last episode, I think. It took me 2 tries to watch it. It's not great, unfortunately, because in 45 minutes in, I said, okay, if this guy does that, then I bounce. And he did exactly that. So I said, okay, I'm out. And I tried again a few days later. It gets better a little bit, but yeah, I would say wait for it to come on Netflix, but it's already on Netflix. So, so yeah, it's unfortunately, it's not good. But I mean, Idris Elba is always, on top of his game. Always a joy to watch, but it's not enough to save this. Okay. So, I watched Detectorists on your recommendation, Mike.
Okay.
I did too. I watched it as well.
Wait, what was it?
It's called Detectorists, and it's people finding stuff with the metal detectors, and I loved it.
Oh, good. I was waiting for.
I loved it.
Me too. I was surprised as well how much I liked it because I don't like Mike's opinions on anything, so that's why.
No, but usually I always talk about Gangs of London and super gnarly stuff, but this was a perfect balance of lighthearted and funny and not annoying and so just so nice,
And Patrick's heart grew 3 times that day.
That's right.
But what do you maybe you can do a better job of describing it than I just did? Or?
No, you did. That's what the surprising part about it is just these 2 buddies that are, that take metal detectors around. And I'm trying to recall because I've been watching so much, but it's a sweet little show. Reservation Dogs has kind of a similar groove to me.
Oh, okay.
That it's got,
okay.
It's not like a yuck comedy. It's a sweet, small town, weird little show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those with the quirky characters, and it's been a couple years since I watched that first series, or the first season. But yeah, it's just Mackenzie Crooks, who wrote it and who played
Crooks, I think, yeah.
Gareth in The British Office. Yeah, he's just got this way of kind of I don't know. It's lighthearted. The laughs aren't like you said, they're not yuck, but it's just, and it's sweet. And like, you want all the characters to do well, because in that first season, some of them are going through some times, and you can't help but root for them all. And yeah, I really liked it. I'm glad. That's awesome.
Oh, I'm going to keep watching the next seasons.
Yeah. And you know what? It doesn't drop off. I mean, I think there's only 3 seasons, and then there's the special that I talked about on the last episode. And yeah, I really liked it. It's a lot of fun.
Do you remember where you found the special? Because I acquired the other seasons, but I haven't seen the special anywhere.
You may have to acquire that one as well.
Okay.
It was, I think it was on kind of that break between Christmas and New Year's. Like the British TV stations, BBC, ITV, Channel 4, whatever, they try not to step on each other's toes. And so there's that week, if you're in the UK, and I've been there a couple times for it, like there's just something on every night. Like, and by something, I mean something that the masses are looking forward to. So, yeah.
Okay. Good. What else? Okay. The good stuff first, and then I'm going to shit on something.
That's a tease right there.
For the end. Yes, exactly. Don't miss it. I've been watching the 3rd season of Party Down.
Really? I've been holding that one off.
It's great.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yes.
I was worried they're going to bring it back after so long. Okay, good.
Yeah. And it would be complete disaster. But no, the chemistry is still there, and it's still funny. Same type of humor. But of course, the characters are older, so they are a little bit less assholes to each other. They grew up like real people would, ideally. I'm digging my own grave here. But no, yeah, honestly, it was a great return, because as we said, usually those things always go bad.
Where's that on in Canada?
It stars in the US. I know that.
Oh.
Yes.
Crave? I think that might be Crave. I can't remember.
Crave is HBO.
Yeah, I think they get stars too.
We need like a Canadian to English, or Canadian to English, Canadian to American, like logbook of some sort here.
Like a metric conversion.
Exactly.
For
Google how many
TV
grams
channels.
is this mentioned,
Right.
So no, yeah. And I think actually this season is only 6 episodes, and the last one should be sometime maybe this week or next week. So it's ending soon. And okay. And for the horrible stuff, saving it for last, Mandalorian. I couldn't take it anymore. After the first episode, I said, F this. And I don't know what I'm not saying it, but like, this is garbage. Why am I wasting my time on this crap? And I was already 1 foot out at the end of the 2nd season, but the 3rd season started so fucking stupid. Then I was like, if the action scenes are going to suck, there is nothing left for me to enjoy there, because like I never read Star Wars books. After 1983, they haven't made a good Star Wars movie, if you ask me. And I think one thing that threw everything out of order for me was that Andor was so good, and then I get this horseshit, and I was like, this convinced me to bounce.
Which episode did you bounce out on?
The first one of the 3rd season.
Okay, so that's not the one where where he goes to the planet?
Actually, no, I think I bounced on the 2nd episode.
Yeah, because that's the one where you railed to all of us about it. And
Yes.
well, because
I couldn't take it anymore. I had to tell someone.
Yeah.
Oh my Christ. Yeah, like in the first episode of the 3rd season, like the Mandalorians are supposed to be like, those super badasses, always ready for any situations. And they get clowned on a beach by this giant alligator. I was like, what the fuck is this?
You would have hated the last episode then, because they get clowned again by another
Jesus
creature.
Christ. I mean, it's Lucasfilm's way of telling us that we've been trolled by the worst bounty hunter in the history of the world who keeps getting lucky.
I think it's Disney going, we need content. Let's make it fast.
Doesn't matter if it's good or bad.
Favreau is behind all of this stuff now. Favreau and Filoni, Dave Filoni and John Favreau. So part of it I put on them. The other part was like the second episode where you were railing about it, because I went in and was like, okay, they go underground and those creatures come out of nowhere and they looked like store-bought costumes. And then I was listening to somebody review it and they'll go, oh, no, that's a throwback to the old Time Machine movie.
Oh, fuck off.
And that's what
Come on.
so like that's why they look so cheap, is they're supposed to look like the old movie from the 50s. I'm like, no.
Come
Okay,
on.
guys, we got to cut your budget by 30% for the next season. You're like, okay, great.
You get to wear a garbage bag filled with leaves.
And like, the first episode, I have to go back to that for a couple of seconds. Like, okay, so you're on a beach, you're exposed, you have this giant alligator in front of you. Right behind you, you have a cave. Walk back to it. You're going to be safe. The alligator is too big for the cave. Jesus. Oh my fucking God. You know what? I think Star Wars hardcore fans, I think they are turning more and more into like NFT boys and crypto boys. Like, no matter how shit it is, they're going to try to convince you it's good.
Mm-hmm. I think diehard fans of a lot of stuff do that.
I know you won't do it, but I believe it's the third episode is almost an Andor episode.
Okay.
So just so you know, there's part of it that they work in, and it's actually, never mind. You're not going to watch it. Why am I even going to bother selling it? I have to go buy some NFTs, guys. I'll see you in a minute.
No, I'm done. And like the book of Boba Fett was complete crap. And, I couldn't take it anymore. My time was more important than this.
Sunk cost fallacy.
Exactly.
That's the episode's title right there.
Jesus.
You nailed it earlier,
like,
dude.
Fucking hell. Oh my God. Just thinking, God, I haven't been this angry since I was the last episode. I'm having like a Vietnam War.
This is my favorite part of the discussion tonight.
Yes,
right
everybody
here.
listening to the podcast right now, this is the only reason why Patrick does this, is he just needs to vent. So
His wife's like, you got to find a different outlet for that.
Could you find something to do, please?
I'm sweating right now.
It's kind of funny.
His Apple Watch is probably going to start beeping. Is something wrong?
Right.
Is something
exactly.
okay?
Yeah, like breathe.
I could see the bulges coming out of his head.
Oh my!
Hey, that's a bald guy thing, Dick. You can't say that to bald guy.
Oh yes, I'm the only one with hair. I didn't even realize that. That's the worst part.
Oh, we knew.
God.
We knew.
We know. We have a separate chat going just about it.
Oh my God! But then again, I am glad I got out of that shitty relationship between a bad TV show and me. I'm out.
What a toxic and abusive relationship.
Oh my God. Like, okay, I know this is nothing to joke about, but Jesus Christ. Okay. My God. What a roller coaster.
Watching you for the last 5 to 10 minutes has been nothing short of just miraculous.
It was entertaining.
Just like the emotions, all that.
You could make a Aaron Con highlight reel just for the last 5 to 10 minutes.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. And actually I could mention I'm halfway through something else on Netflix. It's called The Night Agent.
Oh.
And so far it's pretty decent. I think it's got 10 episodes.
Who is it? That sounds familiar.
No big stars, I don't think. No, well, actually, Robert Patrick is the assistant director of the FBI.
Okay.
Maybe you would recognize a few faces, but no one struck me.
I'm looking at the list right now, and guys down the list that have been in 2 episodes of stuff. But okay. What's the gist of it?
It is a FBI agent who is, basically stuck answering a emergency hotline at night. And that phone never rings because it's for very specific situations. And at some point, the phone rings and he picks it up.
Because that's his job.
Yes. And he does it well. No, yeah, actually, it's good. It's good so far. I have the feeling that it could have been an excellent 7-episode series stretched into 10 episodes. But so far, it's solid. It's not earth-shattering, but it's, solid. Good stuff so far.
Slow Horse is good. That's our baseline for every show, right? Slow Horses.
Is it Slow Horse is good?
I don't feel like Mike's even listening anymore.
I love Slow Horses. I can't wait
that's why
for season 3.
There is no Gary Oldman to steal
Oh.
scenes every now and then, but is it Slow Horses good? No, but it's not the same kind. But it's still good, honestly.
I'm just trying to find a baseline for every show that we can say, is it better than?
Speaking of Slow Horses, I've been reading the books and I'm at the 6th. It's really good. It's a good mix of humor and action and, the Gary Oldman's character is in it quite a bit. And I recommend it.
Mm.
Someone said it was like the modern John le Carré. It's fair. It's maybe less psychologically intense. Like, maybe it messes less with the relation between like an agent stuck at the other side of the Eastern Bloc and all that, complex relations. Still, it's good. So yeah, if you can find those books, check them out. It's solid stuff. So yeah, that's it. That's it for me.
Very cool.
Guys, any closing thoughts?
I just wanted you to do an entire episode trashing The Mandalorian.
Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian, I would be happy to.
Do it like worst watch along ever.
Something like that.
Just right, railing the entire show.
Yeah, exactly. Screaming at the TV for like 5 hours. And it's too bad. Like, it's not like, a relative died or something, but the first seasons of The Mandalorian, I was on board, but
That's all right, dude. It's all right. You're okay.
Yeah.
You're in a safe spot now. You don't have to watch it again. Patrick, you're good. You're good, buddy.
Although Patrick, as a friend, will tell you, you need a towel because you're sweating.
Yes.
Like,
I cannot emphasize enough on how horseshit Boba Fett was. It fucking sucked. God, it sucked.
Hey, those 2 episodes that were Mandalorian episodes, those were good. Stick, poke, poke.
Yeah,
stick,
exactly. Yeah, you're gonna wind me up again, and I'm gonna go for another 10 minutes. So, any closing thoughts, guys? Or
No, thanks for having us on again.
no.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's awesome.
Awesome. Oh my
The
God.
therapy bill is in the mail. You'll have to.
Right, exactly.
Yes. Yeah. And actually, I mentioned that in the chat. And now after that, I'm going to end it for real. I had a YouTube recommendation a few days ago. The name was Hidari or Hidari or something. My Japanese is non-existent. It's Hidari. But I'm going to post a link to the YouTube video when I post the episode, so you guys won't be lost. It is a stop motion 5-minute movie about a samurai fight, pretty much, with wooden puppets. And I love everything about that. The puppet design is amazing. The music is awesome. Music works so well with this. Yeah, it's just 5 minutes.
It's super cool. It's super cool. Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad you did. Okay, awesome. So yeah, check it out. So thank you again, guys. Thank you for bearing with my rants. So where can we find you guys online, Woody?
I'm at The Wooden Chef on Instagram, and I would suggest you follow me because I'm going to Quebec City in 3 weeks and have already booked some awesome restaurants. So if you want to see some really cool food, follow me there.
Quebec City's awesome. You'll love it.
Great.
I might show up on some of those pictures.
Yes. He's threatening me.
Yes. Yeah, you will have to listen to me in person bitching about the Mandalorian.
I'll just bring a towel.
And I will block all the exits, so you will be stuck. Oh, yeah, anyway. So, yeah, thank you, Woody. Nick, what about you?
You can find me at Rock and Retro Pod, which is my podcast. We're actually going to be celebrating this week that we're recording our 50th episode.
Nice. Congratulations.
Nice.
Congrats.
Thank you. And you can follow me at Nick D. Bambeck as well. That's my personal account where I do my album of the day posts, among other things. But thank you to everyone who has supported the podcast and has been on there, like Mike Drew and Patrick, and other guests that we've had on the show. So
Thank you. Mike, what about you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Mr. D's Class. I'm not a great follow because I'm rarely on it. But Instagram is good. It's Pickies with filters, Picies with filters, all one word.
All right, excellent. And by the way, you mentioned, Mike, that you weren't on Twitter anymore. Let's say that if the place goes down in flames for real, have you guys found good alternatives?
No.
No, because all social media is kind of hell. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
I'm an Instagram guy because that's Instagram. I'm more of a pictures guy. The only thing that's going to get me is the news. And people have been talking about Mastodon. I've tried it. I don't really like the interface on it.
Yeah, same.
That died down though so much, like the hype around it.
Mm-hmm. Discord is the other thing, but again, it's very channel specific. It's kind of hard to discover people there. So I haven't found anything that I really like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I guess Instagram is probably the best one.
Yeah, probably less toxic too.
Yeah.
I try to follow good people like you guys on Twitter, so I try not to. I try to block out all the negativity.
Yeah, watch my number of followers either sink like a stone or skyrocket after my rant on the Mandalorian.
You might skyrocket, honestly.
I might. Who knows? From 10 to 15. Okay. So anyway, that's it. Thank you, whoever held on up to the bitter end. And thank you guys again. And we will catch you on the next one. Bye.